How's it going, everyone? This is Imperium Magistrate, and today I have a new video, and this is based on some pretty recent news, and that is that Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate, has picked her running mate, and that is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Now, I don't think too many people know all that much about Walz, um, but he is the governor of Minnesota, and he is someone who I think will sink Kamala Harris's campaign. And this is just such a bizarre choice for the Democrats. Kamala Harris had been trying to put herself out as a moderate, as someone to sort of return to normalcy against Trump. That's been their messaging. And then she picks Tim Walz. And the more Tim Walz is going to be out there, the more people are going to realize how actually insane this guy is. Because at the moment, they are trying to make him out to be this, kind of approachable, kind of warm old man from the Midwest, all of that. And but in reality, what this pick really is doubling down on the sort of very left wing base of the Democratic Party. Walz has been a horrible governor of Minnesota, despite the hoopla and celebration about the fact that he has free school slop for breakfast and lunch for Minnesota children. But about that, during COVID, they got money to try to help the food plan for schools. And guess what? Over $250 million was stolen under Walz's watch, and there was basically no consequences for any major government officials. Just by every statistic, Walz has been a horrible governor. Crime has continually increased and been higher than the national average under his tenure. Of course, he was governor during the infamous BLM riots over George Floyd's death that cost $2 billion. That's just a campaign ad in of itself. Reading, despite himself being a public school teacher, scores in reading and math have dropped even as spending has continuously increased. Annual per capita GDP was initially pretty darn high in Minnesota. Since then, it's kind of tapered out and being about the average of the state. Cost for energy is going to go up, and it's going to go even higher because he wants to have a carbon-free electric grid by 2040, which is going to be disastrous. And basically anybody earning more than 25K is fleeing the state. Their population is actually maintained pretty steadily, the large part due to migration and allowing Somalians and other people from the third world to come to the state. He's also someone who has promoted giving government licenses to any resident, which includes refugees and illegals. And seriously, again, he has just been completely incompetent with the mismanagement of money for a lot of social issues like abortion. Walz is even further left. He opposed any sort of restrictions on third trimester abortions, or even just a basic requirement that abortions need to be done in hospitals by doctors. It's completely insane. They say that we need to make abortion legal to prevent back alley abortions, and yet here we have states that are literally allowing anyone to do it and at any facility. And there's just going to be so many problems with the Harris campaign. Again, Kamala Harris's recent campaign ads have been one part, sort of progressive social policy, another part about sort of being tough on crime, playing up the whole, Trump prosecution thing. But when you have the guy who let Minnesota burn, and by the way, by his own admission, he had a horrible response. They say, he did call National Guards. Yeah, he called National Guards far later. He denied any sort of federal troops being sent to Minnesota to put down the riots. And then again, when after all was said and done, he himself admitted that the response to the George Floyd riots was a failure. And so, like I said, I think this is a horrible pick. Now, in truth, I don't think the vice president really matters all that much. I don't think people who are going to vote for Trump are going to be any more swayed by Vance or whoever else. And I don't even think it would matter if he picks someone like Glenn Youngkin or whatever. I really don't. And WALZ is sort of the same thing with Harris, except I think WALZ is an actual liability. Despite the media trying to make Vance out to be a liability and calling him a weirdo, people are saying that Tim Walz started that trend of calling Vance and Trump weirdos, calling them weird. The reality is that it just has not sticked. Everyone can see that Vance is just a pretty normal guy. Some people want to say, well, he's a bad public speaker. I mean, look, most politicians are bad public speakers. No one cares about the vice president being charismatic or anything like that. It's not that big of a deal. And when it comes to the vice president debate, I think Vance is going to skin Walz like a cat. So we're going to get into what I think the predictions will be. I'm just going to start off with the Democrats, what their safe blue states are. Obviously, California, Hawaii, Washington. I'm not going to put Oregon quite in safe. I think things might be a bit closer there, although I think it will still go Democrat pretty darn safely. Colorado it might end up being a bit closer, but I think it is a decently safe pick. Again, looking through Minnesota. Here's the thing. People are going to say, like, oh, they're going to win Minnesota super easily, just because they have WALZ. I don't necessarily think that. I think it might still be a little closer. With that said, just for safety, I'm going to put it as safe blue, even though I do think margins will be a little bit closer. Illinois, I think, will also be pretty safe. New York, again, margins might do a little better, but I think it'll be pretty darn safe. And Maryland, I think, is also going to be a very safe state. And Vermont, and that's about it for like the basically the given states. Again, we're gonna fill out the rest of the map. Then for Trump Vance, Florida, I think at this point is very safe. South Carolina, most of the deep South is going to be safe. No real explanation there. Ohio, I think, is going to be safe at this point. The Trump Vance ticket is going to do pretty solid there. Indiana, I think, will also be very safe. Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and their first district, as well as the state at large. Both Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, and that's about it for the safe red states. And like I said, now we're going to go to, and then Alaska. Almost forgot that. Like I said, for Oregon, I think margins might be a little bit closer. It's still going to go pretty safely for Harris-Walz. Any other states that might be lean? I guess I forgot Massachusetts for safe. And I guess the other smaller states. But honestly, some of these smaller states, like Delaware, for instance, I think it might actually be a little closer. Again, I think Harris and Walz are going to take it, but still, it might be a bit more competitive than usual, especially with Biden off the ticket. Same with New Jersey. I think New Jersey might be kind of interesting. Like I said, I still think it's more likely going to go Democrat, but I think Trump can cut down the margins. I think they win the first Maine district still, even if it'll be a bit closer. Also forgot West Virginia there for safe red, and DC. And yeah, I think that's it for the lean states. For Republican lean, Texas, I think North Carolina's, they're going to be fine. There's always talks of, can the Democrats flip North Carolina? And almost always goes nowhere. And I think it'll be fine there. And yeah, I'm not sure about any other states. Then moving on back to sort of tilt. At the moment, I think Nevada is still kind of in the Democrat lane, although it might still be a decent enough chance to flip Republican compared to last time. Nebraska's second district, again, it's one that might probably be close to Republicans flipping, but for now I'm just going to put it in the Democrat column. Virginia, I think, is also a state that's on the table, but I think margins are going to be pretty close, and it's just gonna have to we're gonna have to wait and see. But I'm still gonna just be safe, put in Democrat column. Same with New Hampshire, which again I think Trump might be able to flip it, but not the most likely. And Maine at large, I think will stay blue with Trump winning Maine second. And then lastly, it comes down to the swing states, especially in the Rust Belt. Now, for Republicans, I think Trump will take Georgia, despite some polling seemingly showing that Kamala might have a bit of a lead in Georgia, that she might be energizing black voters. I really think a lot of that's not going to be sustained, and I think Trump might be able to flip Georgia back over. Honestly, like even with them showing that Kamala has like a 70-30 lead with black voters, that's actually pretty terrible numbers. Like Trump having like 20% share of the black vote is actually some of the best numbers for Republicans in decades. And so I think Trump is going to take Georgia there. Then again, for the Rust Belt, again, with WALZ, the Democrats are kind of betting that WALZ can bring his sort of blue-collar Rust Belt appeal. But I really don't think it's going to work out all that well. He really, again, because at the end of the day, people are voting for Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, and she has little Rust Belt appeal. And so I think Trump will take a lot of these states. I think it might be a little closer for Michigan, Wisconsin, probably similar margins to Pennsylvania. And already there, Trump has 295. And then as the cherry on top, I think he'll probably end up taking Arizona and Nevada by pretty close margins. So this is, my sort of quick thrown together prediction, again, based on what we know of Tim Walz and what I think is going to, come in the future. And even then, I think there's still decent chances that Trump could, flip some states, like, again, even Virginia or New Hampshire. New Hampshire's probably more likely. But I don't think Virginia is completely off of the table. And so, this is my prediction. Obviously, a lot can change and will change. And tell me what you guys think. And I'll see you guys next time.